Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. What a beautiful day it was today in Northeast Ohio. It seems like ages ago we were all complaining about the Indians' opening day, which had been scheduled for Thursday, March 26th. You know what? I just checked my calendar. Tomorrow is Thursday, March 26th. Opening day usually reminds us of what is right with our world. Unfortunately, right now, everybody and everything seems wrong with our world. Maybe we can right the ship and then right it quickly. And when we do, it'll be opening day again, and the rebirth can begin with the beautiful game of baseball. The D-Man, Dennis-Manoloff, is here. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Wednesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again, More Sports and Les-Levine, into its 24th consecutive season, exclusively on cleveland.com. The D-Man, Dennis-Manoloff, at his remote location. Hello, D-Man. Can't
be at Classic Teleproductions. I missed the drive to the studio, and I missed the guys, but we have to do what we have to do.
No question about it. Thanks for making the adjustment to do just that. Before we get into some football stuff, and things continue to happen here in the late off season, but yesterday, as I mentioned in the commentary, tomorrow rather, was supposed to be the opening day for baseball down at Progressive Field. It's obviously not going to happen. What do you have certain memories of certain games, Indians games opening day, that have stuck with you over the years?
Well, absolutely. My first one that I can remember was the 75 opener where Robbie hit the homer off of Doc Medich. And, it was a family tradition to go to the home opener every year. So when I think about openers and Indians baseball, I think about my dad a lot, too, and my mom. And, they're no longer with us. So special memories there for me. But, and I also, the other one that pops into my mind more so than any other short of the Robinson player-manager home run is the opener, of course, at Jacobs Field when the big unit took the no-hitter into the 8th inning, and it was broken up by Santos Alomar. Indians wind up winning in extra innings. Clinton threw out the first pitch. Just an incredible day at then Jacobs Field in '94.
And, of course, Bob Feller, the only one to ever pitch a no-hitter on opening day. And I was sitting about 3 seats away from him in the press box as he was squirming around a little bit, of course, telling everybody, hey, records are made to be broken. It's okay. But, and that's one of the beauties of Bob Feller.
Right. To some people, he played it off like it was no big deal. Right. But to you and me and a bunch of others, it was a big deal. He used to have, I remember him at openers. I'm not kidding. He would have the newspaper, somebody's newspaper, the Plain Dealer, USA Today, whatever it is. He'd have it open up to all the games, the box score live, because we didn't know the games at that point, but he had the pitching lines.
Yeah, he's like the Miami Dolphins of '72, with the loss.
Yeah. He would keep track of which games were up on the board in left field when they were final, and he would X off the pitching matchup of that game. And so it was a very important distinction for him.
Yeah, well, you can't blame him. Can't blame him at all. I go back a little further. I got Rocky Colavito playing against the Indians the day after he got traded. Goes into extra innings. I think he struck out 4 times and hit into a double play. Detroit won that game. And then I've got the two that you mentioned, Robbie and Randy Johnson at the opener of Jacobs Field at the time. But also, how about the snow game with Mike Hargrove, the manager of the Seattle Mariners?
Yeah, Wedge versus Hargrove, and the meeting out at home plate when Hargrove went into the 4 corners offense and Bird got denied. And that's one that I guess Feller would have been sweating too. You never know how long Bird was going to go,
Right.
but at that point he was fine. So yeah, I remember that now that you bring it up.
All right, 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dennis-Manoloff, the D-man, is here. We've been talking the last couple of days, as you know. You can tell from the look of the show. And by the way, it looks terrific with the split screen there. Help us out a little bit. More phone calls would be accepted. You can change the tone of what we're doing. Just give us a call or email us. You can email us at real-levine@gmail.com. All right, D-man, turning to football, the Bleacher Report says the Browns have done all the right things in the offseason. What do you think? Let's take a look at some of the things that they have done. There you have it right there. Well, first of all, they fired Freddie-Kitchens. That's a good move, right?
Yes. That's
and john-dorsey gone also. We continue on. Of course, they hired Kevin-Stefanski and also Andrew Berry as the general manager. That's the second thing they did right. Third thing, the Browns, what did they do? Well, they signed Jack-Conklin to upgrade the offensive line. I just found this out today. Maybe you knew this, D-man. He played at Michigan State. He was a walk-on. How about that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either, but now I do know it. Let's see what else the Browns have done correctly in the offseason. Well, they signed the Pro Bowl tight end, Austin Hooper. That's a good move there. He's the highest paid tight end in the NFL right now. And finally, the fifth thing that they did is coming up shortly. There you go. They added cheap talent. Well, inexpensive talent.
Inexpensive. Yeah.
Yeah, not cheap. You don't want to call them cheap. But I'll tell you what, you get some good talent and don't have to pay all that much. That's a double dipping.
Yeah, Les, let me just take issue with you slightly on number 2.
Okay.
I'm sticking with my stance that I'm not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe, as it were. I'm not going to be giving A-pluses for pressers. I don't know that we can say that the hiring of Berry and Stefanski are good move or is a good move together until we see the results on the field. I do agree that they needed to get rid of Kitchens, but it's going to remain to be seen whether this new group is good or not. I don't think you could say right now that it is a success because they haven't proven a thing.
Right, and they have to change over the offense and defense with the new staff and the new schemes and all that. So you're right. I think you have to wait a little longer on Berry than you do. I think you'll see it a little quicker on Stefanski than you will with Berry.
Sure, Les, but I think for both men, we've talked about this on previous shows, there's no luxury, there's no easing into this job. I think they need to win right away. I mean, Berry might try to say, hey, I need a couple of years to get this thing right. I'm not buying it. I think they've got to win in 2020 or else the clock's ticking on them in 2021. Why do I say that? Because of the Haslam DNA.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the defensive comparisons. You talk about the contracts and what they did. You see the top three, Browns no longer with the team, and you see what their new contract is and which team they will be playing for. Then the Browns get Andrew Billings. They also get Kevin Johnson and Carl Joseph. And so you see those 3 one-year deals. That's kind of unusual to get 3 one-year deals with guys who will, if they don't start, they will be frequent contributors to the team. And that's what they got right now. So part of the deal being a GM is not just to check out talent, but you better know what you're doing as far as cap space is concerned.
Right, and I understand the point there, but also you got to remember B.J. Goodson coming on board as a linebacker, but I know that's not the 1 year under 3.5 situation.
Right, and the Browns have the most cap space in the offseason here. This is by SpotTrack, that is SpotTrack.com that picked it up. Browns still have 48 and change, 48 million. The Jets 38 million. Washington's 36, 35 for Houston, and Miami with 34.6. So they can still do some wheeling and dealing here.
Yes, I wouldn't say that they're done yet because they do have some room, and I can't imagine they're going to say, okay, we're good to go for training camp based on what we've done so far.
No, but my guess is that they have some additional things they can do with the draft position now that they know what they filled around the offense and defense.
Yeah, that's where the Conklin acquisition is so important, because now you feel like you can get the other tackle in the draft.
Right.
But also, Les, one guy we haven't spoken of that wasn't mentioned on the graphic is Case Keenum. An important piece as a legitimate backup to Mayfield. I think with Keenum, given his success a few years ago in Minnesota when Stefanski was there, at least if Mayfield were to go down, you wouldn't have this feeling of dread amongst the rest of the team that the season is completely lost, because Keenum is capable, and he showed it in his most complete season a few years ago. I think it was 2017. Right. With the Vikings.
And he's also smart enough to know it's not a competition between the two. He knows he's not the starter, but as you suggest, he also knows that he can step in if there's an injury, not a game-ending injury, but if Mayfield has to come out for some reason, he'll be ready. And I think that will give some confidence in the team and the fans that at least they have somebody capable of doing that.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a break. The D-man, Dennis-Manoloff, is with us. We'll continue on with our discussion. We'll find out what mistakes Dorsey may have made, and that Berry either has already filled that mistake or plans to do that in the near future. Did you know the Ohio Lottery has paid out over $1 billion in winnings over the last 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening all around the state each and every day. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. We'll come back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine, with new content posted each and every day. Back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Birthdays for today: 1947, travesty of judgment, or justice, should be. Well, whatever. Avery Johnson, born on this date. Tom Glavine, Travis Fryman, Bobby Sura, former Cav, and of course Kyle Lowry, all born on this date in sports history. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. And Dennis-Manoloff, the D-man, is with us. We mentioned during the break, D-man, or before the break, that Andrew Berry has tried to correct mistakes by Dorsey. They're only mistakes because there's a change in regime. If Dorsey stays here, they're not mistakes.
Yeah, I'm not going to be. I don't like the automatically claiming that Dorsey was mistake prone. Okay, it's entirely possible that John Dorsey's plan was a sound one and would have worked under a better head coach. Okay?
Yeah, who was his guy?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt that Dorsey is culpable for the hiring of Kitchens, but I just don't know that you could say, well, because the Browns went 6-10 and because they had so many issues, Dorsey's plan was way off. I think the coach fouled up a lot of the works.
All right, I agree with that completely. The only thing I would say is that maybe he might have signed some questionable players along the way. It seems to me that his first several moves seemed to be all good. There's no complaints about it. Then maybe he got cocky, or maybe certain people weren't available. It just seemed that he changed his theory of questionable characters. Or, I keep hearing, well, we want to mold men also. I don't necessarily believe that for a minute.
Agreed. And I really think when you look back at Dorsey's tenure with the Browns, history will judge it in part on how the Odell-Beckham-Jr. trade turns out. And by the Odell-Beckham-Jr. trade, I mean combining the two trades into one mega trade, Browns and Giants. And as of right now, it looks like it leans toward the Giants.
Yeah, but 1 year is not the time to tell. You got to rate it after a couple of years. All right, so are these corrections, or are these things that had to be done? All right, after 2018, Browns offensive line, it had been ranked as number 2 by Pro Football Focus. Dorsey traded away Kevin Zeitler and to the Giants in 2019. That, again, as you mentioned, is part of the deal for Odell Beckham. After 2019, Browns offensive line ranked 23rd, so by Pro Football Focus, they go from number 2 to number 23. And then to undo that, the Browns signed Jack-Conklin to a 3-year deal with worth $42 million on that. All right, is this a correction of a mistake also? Freddie-Kitchens' offense ran the ball 40% of the time, 4.8 yards per rush. Stefanski's offense ran the ball, 49% of the time. Conklin, 5th in the run blocking grade by amongst tackles by Pro Football Focus. And Andy Janovich is the 2nd best run blocking fullback in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus again. So when you change GMs and coaches, you're changing schemes, and some guys are good in your system and maybe not in others. All right, now that we look at the tight ends, mistakes that could have been made by Dorsey, Demetrius Harris and Ricky Seals-Jones dropped a combined 6 passes on 49 targets in 2019. The Browns signed Austin Hooper to a 4-year deal at worth $44 million. And Hooper dropped 1 pass on 97 targets. That's pretty good in 2019. Hooper, 75 receptions, 787 yards, 6 touchdowns in 2019. And looks like he did his homework on joining the Browns. Talked to a couple of former tight ends of the Browns. Barnage was one. And they gave him the word on Cleveland fans and the city of Cleveland. And he at least said that was one of the reasons he picked the Browns over anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. A good acquisition in Hooper, and Conklin, Keenum, and some of those guys on defense, or so it seems, okay? And I'm not trying to sound like a Dorsey apologist here, but you have to wait to see how Stefanski performs as an NFL head coach with these players before you automatically determine that Andrew Berry is fixing John Dorsey mistakes.
Right. And
that's my point.
What Stefanski will have, though, is 2 legitimate tight ends, because Njoku looks like, now that he got rid of being under the auspices of Freddie-Kitchens, you got the 2 tight ends, you got 2 wide receivers, 2 good ones, assuming they're healthy, and then 2 running backs. So it looks like the defensive coordinators on the opposing teams are going to have a lot to think about in the week prior to a game with the Cleveland Browns.
You would think, Les, but I'm not trying to be pessimistic, Pete. I really am not. I'm trying to be realistic, Rick, I guess. We got to see what Njoku can do again, all right, because of what happened in 2019 with various issues, including injuries and seemingly the doghouse. And we also have to see how Beckham and Landry respond to their injury situations. Beckham with the surgery on the core and Landry with the surgery on the hip. But most importantly, of course, we have to see how Baker-Mayfield responds to the adversity of 2019, the subpar performance of 19. Because if Mayfield doesn't do the job, all this other stuff doesn't mean anything.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dennis Manoloff, WTAM Radio, is with us. Northeast Factory Direct, you know, Alex, you've seen him on TV over the last couple of years, and now 20 years in the business. It took him a while, but he started that business in the basement 20 years ago, saving people a lot of money on this one dining room set, and now he figured out that's the model for a new business. And the model is so good, he's giving you a one-year best price guarantee. If you buy something at Northeast Factory Direct and you find it cheaper somewhere else, he'll refund the money immediately. That's the guaranteed low price. Guaranteed price guarantee, 3 locations, east, west, and south, as well as the website you want to check before you go, northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll come back in a moment. We're going to find out about the Cleveland Browns. Are they one of the most improved teams in the NFL? We'll find out that and more with Dennis Manoloff, exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
Got your Ohio Lottery pick 3, I see.
Yup. Those glasses are hip.
Hip? Most people think I'm a square. But what's wrong with that? A box bet can increase your chances of winning. And what is a box? A square. There are so many ways to play. They're just coming out the wazoo. Oh, shucks. Look at me yammering on. Put a lid in it, Picky Ricky. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
So most fans who have been disappointed in recent years, whenever they draft picks are made or trades are made, everybody assumes that'll transform the Browns into a contender. It hasn't happened yet, but most of the national people saying the Browns are among the most improved teams in this offseason. Let's take a look at exactly what they're thinking about. Top 5 teams as far as NFL improvement is concerned by Pro Football Focus. You got Arizona Cardinals number 1, Miami Dolphins number 2, the Giants 3, Indianapolis at 4, and the Cleveland Browns at number 5. Let's recap the additions of to the Browns squad. See what we're talking about. All of these come in on the recap of what's been done, and this is before the draft even takes place. Austin Hooper, the tight end, Case Keenum, the backup quarterback, Andy Janovich, the fullback, Kevin Johnson, as well as Andrew Sendejo, JoJo Natson, who played locally, Jack-Conklin, who we mentioned before, B.J. Goodson, Carl Joseph, Andrew Billings, and Donovan Olumba, all on a busy couple of days during before the shutdown of the offices are concerned. And by the way, the NFL has shut down all of the offices as of minutes ago, as of 6 p.m., but NFL teams can work on whatever they're working on at home, and there's no deadline on some of the things that they were concerned with. So can the Browns show improvement on the field? D-Man, you've got the cautionary tale But what else do you think? What positive can you put on this spin here?
I mean, look, the list you put up there is nice on paper. And I guess I've come across as sort of pessimistic. I would rather say guarded because I've been down this road so many times. I've been the one. And by the way, you talked when you and I talk on the air in August. I'll be assuming everything is on schedule for an NFL season in 2020. I'll be waving the pom-poms and claiming the Browns are Super Bowl worthy. But at this point, I always caution people about free agency in particular, because free agency sounds great, but it really is never the way in which you build your team, or shouldn't be. It doesn't mean you can't help your team immensely with free agency, but you can't rise and fall with a free agent class, in my opinion. It's got to go so much deeper than that. And in the Browns' case, they're dealing with a first-year GM and a first-year NFL head coach. So there's a lot of show me, don't tell me that remains. And here's the other thing, Les, too. I'm giving these people credit. Don't get me wrong. I'm giving them credit. Pro Football Focus, I mean, you might as well rename the NFL the PFF, because it has taken over the NFL. Like, if you grade well with PFF, you're getting money. If you don't grade well with PFF, you're not getting money. PFF is doing a fantastic job. Pro Football Focus, hats off to them, but it is amazing how much influence PFF has on NFL transactions.
Has that changed what the scouting staffs of each individual teams do? Do you think that more emphasis may be put on what Pro Football Focus says as opposed to your own inside guys? Because the inside guys change year to year, just about.
Yeah, and listen, I'm sure Pro Football Focus has a cavalcade of analysts and scouts that do their job. So I'm not saying that they're just sitting in front of a computer and crunching numbers. They're watching film and doing, a heck of a job of it, no doubt. But it just is. I've noticed it over the last couple of years, where every time you talk about whether a team has improved or a team has not gotten better, it always seems to mention what PFF has to say.
Does that take into account the analytics of the whole thing, or is just looking at how good the guys are individually?
Well, I think the Pro Football Focus is, all about the analytics, but it's also about, the eye test, I would imagine. I mean, I'm not on the PFF payroll. I don't know how they do things, but I trust that they have people who are trying to match up the eye test with the numbers. But PFF, I would say this, has revolutionized the way the NFL does business, because it is presenting these teams with data that says, okay, for example, your linebackers. All right, which one should you pay the most to? Should you pay the most to your Will, your Sam, your Mike? In today's game, what size a linebacker should you have? Or what size safety or corner should you have? What kind of speed do they have to have? That's the sense I get about how they are revolutionizing talent evaluation.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dennis Manoloff is with us, WTAM Radio. When are you on next, D-Man?
Tomorrow and Friday. Thursday, Friday, 7 to 11 p.m. Tomorrow night, I've already lined up the great Paul Hoynes and Zach Meisel, because I want to talk about, the home opener that wasn't, and also various other. What's that?
The opening day tomorrow.
Yeah. And so at night, we'll just talk about what, the day could have been, but also I want to pick Hoynes' brain about, his history of covering openers, as well as Zach Meisel, one of the fine young sports writers in this country.
I think that Hoynes has covered them since 1983. I think that's the year that he started covering the Indians on a day-to-day basis. You can explore your interests and find a program that puts you on a path to a bright future from Tri-C. They offer more than 1,000 courses and over 150 career and technical programs. Go to try-c.edu for more information. We'll come back. There are some other free agents out there the Browns may or may not be interested in. We'll check on that and more with the D-Man Dennis-manoloff, exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
This date in sports history during the Jerry Lucas, John Havlicek era of Ohio State basketball. In 1960, Ohio State beat Cal by 20 points for the championship that year. Yesterday's date in history was the third year of the Lucas Havlicek era, and it was Cincinnati that beat them. And then in between, on the 25th in 1961, it was Cincinnati again beating Ohio State, this time by the score you see there, 70-65 in overtime to win the NCAA basketball championship. And I mentioned last night, so many people think that Cincinnati had Oscar Robertson, but Robertson was done the year before. Ohio State and Cincinnati met 2 years in a row with the Cincinnati sweeping the two-game series, I guess you could call it. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. The D-Man, Dennis-manoloff. That was before your time, D-Man, but what a great team that was. Bobby Knight was the sixth man on that Ohio State team. Not very good.
I've read about it a little bit, but yeah, I can't even imagine how good those two teams were.
Yeah, Lucas and Havlicek leading the way. Let's take a look at some free agents the Browns may be interested in. We'll throw out some names, and you tell me what you think about them. How about Jason Peters, offensive tackle, 38 years old, 16 NFL seasons with the Bills and the Eagles, a 9-time Pro Bowler. You see any need to get him as a free agent?
Not necessarily. I don't think.
We'll try to hook that up again. D-Man, all right, we'll get D-Man in a moment. So Jason Peters is one. Next one they might want to look at is Jadeveon Clowney. I mentioned the other night that everybody remembers that play he had against Michigan in the bowl game. But he's 27 years old, 6 NFL seasons with the Texans and the Seahawks, 31 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 fumbles forced. That was in 2019 in 13 games. A 3-time Pro Bowler, 9.5 sacks, and 21 tackles for losses in his career-high year of 2017. Then we take a look at a name that is rather intriguing, Everson Griffin. Griffin, defensive end, 6'3", 273, 32 years old, 10 NFL seasons, all with the Vikings. So certainly Stefanski knows all about him. 41 tackles, 11 for loss, 8 sacks, 1 interception. That was all in 2019. A total of 4 Pro Bowl appearances. And that was in 2015, 17, and in 2019. Career high of sacks you saw right there. Rashad Jones is somebody else, a safety. The Browns still need some help in the defensive backfield. played only 4 games last year due to chest and ankle injuries, but he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, 2015 and 2017, 21 interceptions in 128 career games. D-Man, any of those names intrigue you a little bit?
Well, of course. Are we good? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Are we good? Volume-wise? Yeah, the edge rusher, whoever it might be, I mean, that's going to depend on what the Browns do with Olivier Vernon. I read last week where there were no plans to cut him, at least at the moment. There has been speculation and, well-founded that the Browns might move on from Vernon because of the price tag. And that's why it's well-founded, because he's pretty expensive and he has an injury history. So you're going to have to see what happens with Vernon. Obviously, they've got Garrett back, but you'd like to pair him up. And clearly that Garrett-Vernon combo didn't quite work out the first half of the year because Garrett didn't have the help from Vernon the second half of the year because Garrett, had gotten himself suspended. So we'll have to see. Another name out there, Les, we mentioned it when it happened. Has anybody signed Clay Matthews yet?
No, and I would do it. I would certainly, if nobody else wants him especially, I would take him. What a PR hit that would be. That would be tremendous if they want to win some fans back. But then again, if he can't play, that's a different story.
Yeah, he's not a hand in the dirt edge rusher, but he does. Well, what was last year? 6 or 8 sacks. It looked to me like he was cut or released more for a salary dump than anything else. I don't know that he's declined that much if you have half a dozen to maybe 8 sacks in a season. So that'd be an interesting guy to add, not as a integral piece, but as a pass rush specialist from the linebacker side.
If he still can play a little bit, that would be one of the most popular moves the Browns have made in the last 20 years since they returned for the 1999 season. I mean, imagine that. You got Clay Matthews. They just the only non-Hall of Famer whose name is up on the wall of the Browns Wall of Honor, and sort of like Larry Nance and Larry Nance Jr., but Clay Matthews, one of the most popular players the Browns have ever had.
Yeah, and Les, we know full well you don't sign guys for, serendipity or emotional reasons.
They got to be able to play.
Yeah, and I think Clay Matthews can play. I mean, I remember watching a number of Rams games last year, and he seemed to be doing things. And so he certainly thinks he has some gas left in the tank. So we'll see.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. I'm glad you brought that up because, not that the Browns should just do it for a PR purpose, but you get the benefit of a guy who can still play and do it in the PR department. The interesting thing is how Cincinnati has done from a PR standpoint, have gotten so many Ohio State players, and the Denzel Ward is one the Browns got a couple of years ago, but for the most part, maybe Paul Warfield going back into the 60s, but not that many Ohio State guys have come onto the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if there's any reason for it, if it's just coincidence, or they don't want the distraction of an Ohio State guy here in Cleveland.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh has become famous for Ohio State pickups as well. So, yeah, it was a little disconcerting year after year when you see, good Ohio State players not going to the Browns.
Right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. The D-Man, Dennis-Manoloff, is here. East, west, and south, that's where you find Northeast Factory Direct, West 140th Street, Lakeland Boulevard, Freeway Drive, that's in Macedonia, and, of course, northeastfactorydirect.com. They carry high-quality name-brand furniture like the Flex Steel, England, as well as Klausner and more, and also Amish furniture made right here in northeastern Ohio. You don't get higher quality than that. And they've got furniture for any budget, whether you're buying a starting furniture set for your first apartment or refurnishing a mansion. They've got it at the lowest possible price with the guaranteed price guarantee, and that's from northeastfactorydirect.com. We'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. Sokolowski's University Inn, they are open for orders to go. I was there today, and these people deserve, in this area, They deserve your support. They're one of the landmark restaurants in Cleveland and have been since 1923, and they've got orders to go. Now, if you know them from recent history, they're only open till 3 o'clock in the afternoon for lunch, and now they're open till 7 on Monday. Tuesday. They're not open on Mondays, but Tuesday through Friday, open till 7, and a little bit later on Saturday night. But it's all to go, and it's well worth doing it. Pick it up, take it home, and you'll be happy you did. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. More Sports and Les-Levine continues with Dennis-Manoloff exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of March. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Tomorrow night, Mary Kay Cabot will join us. We haven't seen her in a while. Looking forward to that. You see us live from 6 until 7 Eastern Time and 6 to 7 p.m. And you archive it all day, all night, and anytime you want to see it or hear it. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Orlando, Florida for Joe. Joe, go ahead. You're on with the D-Man, Dennis-Manoloff.
Hey, thanks. How you guys doing?
We're doing okay under the circumstances. How are you?
Same as you guys. Golf course is open, so clubhouse is not the restaurant. It's only doing takeout, but who cares?
Okay.
Anyway, you guys were talking about analytics, and I have no real familiarity, but or feelings one way or another on it. But if you were looking at analytics and applying it to Baker-Mayfield, and then even Tom Brady, how would they be measured by that standard?
Well, I never heard any problems with the size of the hands of Brady. You always heard that about Baker-Mayfield. D-Man, would you think that Mayfield and Brady would suffer under the analysis of analytics?
If you're judging Brady by his 40 time, yeah, I guess his 40 time at the combine. But, I mean, Tom Brady is long past having to worry about anybody judging him on anything. He's the greatest to ever do it. As far as Mayfield goes, I mean, I think you do what you do with any player. You use your eyes, the eye test. Does he look good? Is he do the throws look good coming out of his hand? Are his mechanics correct? What about his receivers routes and all that other stuff? But then you also, crunch the numbers and say, okay, how is he, let's say, throwing to the right side of the field versus the left side of the field? How is he intermediate versus long passing? How is he when he's blitzed versus when he's not blitzed? What about when the blitz comes from the left side as opposed to the right side? So you can marry your eye test with the raw numbers or the data and you could come up with a composite. And I think no matter how you sliced it last year, Mayfield was off his game. Okay. Does that mean that he's going to be off his game again in his third year? No. Does it automatically mean he returns to what he looked like in 18? Not that either. We don't know.
One of the statistics that they use is touchdowns versus interceptions. Sometimes interceptions are kind of hard to actually put too much weight on, because some of them might be a Hail Mary pass at the end of the half. They might be a throwaway. You don't know. It's not just raw data that tells you what it is. Sometimes there's a reason why you have those numbers.
Right, and that's why, in the previous segment, I was talking about how PFF has kind of taken over the NFL. I was being complimentary about it, and I know that PFF analyzes interception-worthy throws, and so there are passes that don't get picked because they might have been dropped by the DB or something like that. PFF will put that in the category of interception-worthy passes, and then others that were tip balls that really weren't necessarily destined to be a pick, they'll also categorize those, and teams look at all that data to decide, okay, what's the real amount of touchdowns or real amount of expected touchdowns versus real amount of expected picks.
Yeah, it's one of my pet peeves. You have a pass that's right on target. It goes off the shoulder of the receiver. Next thing you know, it's a pick six or a pick something going the other way, and the quarterback isn't always to blame for it. Joey is still there.
Yeah, and listening intently and pretty much agreeing with everything except for the obvious thing that you guys know more than anybody else because you cover sports so much. Then there's a guy like Julian Edelman, who size-wise can't play, speed-wise probably doesn't, can run a route apparently, but is the go-to guy for years, and all he does is win Super Bowls. So I think I think the analytics thing is out of control, and I think a couple of years from now it'll just be a buzzword that probably people will have long forgotten.
Yeah, go tell Chris Spielman that analytically he couldn't play the game. You tell him. I don't want to tell him that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else, Joe?
No, but I always say when I do get in with a call, I always enjoy the show and looking forward to the quickies.
Very good. I am too.
Thanks,
Joe. Enjoy
and
the night.
Let me jump in real quickly. During the previous break, I looked it up. Clay had 8 sacks last year, but he only had 1 in the final 7 games of the season. You remember in the Browns-Rams game in prime time early in the year, he had 2 sacks. But I was also looking up potential suitors for Matthews, and the Ravens and the Cowboys were mentioned. So the league certainly doesn't think that Clay, even though he's 33, he'll be 34 when the season starts, that he's anywhere near washed up.
They didn't show the Browns being interested at this point?
I just saw one article that mentioned the Ravens and the Cowboys as potential suitors.
All right.
And that doesn't mean the Browns wouldn't be interested. Right. It just means that more than one team is definitely poking around regarding Clay Matthews.
Well, from a defensive standpoint, other than Myles Garrett returning to form, I can't imagine anything that would turn on the Browns fandom at First Energy Field or First Energy Stadium. I think the excitement about a Clay Matthews, I won't say return, but the name would return. I think that would be fun being down there.
Unless I agree, but let me go back to the point was made by Joe, and we love Joe, of course. I think I've learned that analytics should not be put in a box. It's not just guys sitting at computers crunching numbers. It's part of the puzzle. It's an important part of the puzzle. If you sat down with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, they're going to teach you more about football than you'll ever know, and it doesn't have to be tied to the quote-unquote analytics. So I think it's unfair to pigeonhole or to use that word somehow as negative toward people who use it as an important tool.
We had a Facebook question of the day. We said, what's the best move the Browns have made in this offseason? So let's listen in on what people had to say. Chris Ard, actually, they've made several. So far, they're addressing many needs in free agency ahead of the draft. Hard not to be encouraged by what we've seen so far with this new regime, which seems to be working together on all cylinders. Glenn Berger says the signing of Jack-Conklin offensive line was the Browns' biggest weakness. Now they have to shore up the left tackle. Very interested to see what the Browns do there. Dennis Percy says getting a front office and a head coach who seem to be working well in tandem. Aaron Wood says the best day of free agency was the first day. Both the signing of Hooper and Conklin are equally important. Takes pressure off Baker and a big-time target to throw to, and a top tackle with better protection. Ted Moon from South Carolina says, I think that there have actually been a few. The release of Freddie-Kitchens, the hiring of Stefanski, the assistant coach hirings have been outstanding, especially Callahan, and he won their Super Bowl in South Carolina, and the free agent off season. So Ted Moon, very happy with that. Larry Pantasia says getting Bill Callahan as an assistant coach. Maybe DePodesta knows Phil Jackson had veteran help from Johnny Bach and Tex Winter. Even Bob Knight always had somebody older on his staff. Brad Childress and Norv Turner came here, but they were spinning out of Haslam's revolving door. Hopefully this hire shows that Kevin-Stefanski isn't a know-it-all and will take and accept help. And that's what it looks like, at least at this point. 216-575-0403. If you can't call us during the show, which is seen live Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you can call the voicemail of Truth and Reason, 216-200-6650. Call anytime and leave a message, and we will respond to that in a future show. We're going to come back. I don't know. Maybe we have some How Come Quickies. If not, D-Man and I will fill it up. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of March. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Mary Kay Cabot joins us from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. You see us from 6 to 7 Eastern, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and archive us all day and all night, anytime you'd like to. You're looking forward to Mary Kay's appearance. That'll be tomorrow night. I don't have a batch of quickies right now, but I do have Mr. Gullible, believe it or not. Mr. Gullible, have you ever called this show?
Many years ago. Great show, by the way, Les. Great show.
Today?
Any day with Les is a day with sunshine. By the way, I want you to know I washed my hands and I wiped down the phone with the Lysol pad.
Excellent, excellent. We have to, after you touching it, we may have to do it on this side.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
D-Man, I love your work. I love your writing, your radio work. Your A to Z book was really fun reading.
I know sucking up. Let's get to business here.
Okay, this is my favorite time of year. Tomorrow would have been my 46th out of 47 consecutive home opening days.
How did you miss one? Death
in the family. The funeral was out of town. I couldn't avoid it. That was 5 years ago. So, yeah, this is my holiday, but as I was told this morning, you're retired, Gullible. Every day's a holiday. But just to recap some of the ones you had mentioned, 1975 was my second in the string. Freezing, but when Frank hit that home run off of Doc Medich, it just warmed us all up. That was a tremendous time. 1981 was my only negative one. It was the year after Joe Charbonneau's Rookie of the Year, and he was out with a hurt back, injured back, and the people just booed Andre Thornton mercilessly, and I just didn't understand that. He's been very...
How about Gomer Hodge?
Well, yeah, Gomer, golly, I'm hitting 4,000.
Yeah, he had 4 hits in a row in 4 games. He thought he was batting 4,000.
Right.
That's the old analytic way of doing it.
That's my kind of analytics. 1983, four months after the 5-for-1 Von Hayes trade, George.
Hey, I don't have time to go over every game in your history. Come on, gullible. I got the D-man, Dennis-Manoloff here.
I love the D-man. I love his A to Z book. How about 2007? I'm sitting in the mezzanine.
You're about to get buzz here.
Paul Bird's got a no-hitter going into the 5th inning.
Yeah.
And Mike Hargrove comes out and does his thing and freezes us out.
All
Hey,
right, to quote, hold on. To quote Bud Shaw, they're called quickies, sir.
Well, this isn't a quickie part. Hey, Bobby D let me open the gate in 2013 in my 40th year. He let me ceremonially open the gate and get interviewed on TV. That was pretty cool.
Very good.
But anyway, this is just going to be I'm really bumming out. Mrs. Gullible said she's going to kick me out of the house by mid-April from all my withdrawal symptoms that I'm having.
All right, I see you have a quickie submission. I got to get to them. Got to go. Thanks, Gullible.
Love you, Gullible. You got it. Stay safe.
I got some quickies. This is from Big Ed. Big Ed says, it's not a quickie, but I couldn't pass it up. When you're down in the sea and an eel bites your knee, that's a moray. It's an old one, too. The worst thing about being lonely is playing Frisbee. How come I forgot to go to the gym today? That's 4 years in a row. Big Ed's coming on strong. LP writes in. Larry Pantages. How come Tom Brady thinks he won't be remembered like Johnny Unitas and Joe Namath, who regrettably changed teams late in their careers? How come Greek people in America need a reminder that March 25th is Independence Day from the Ottoman Empire in 1821? I always forget that. How come saying a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush is useless? Because I've never had a bird in my hand and birds in the bush just fly away. They're called quickies, sir.
Well done.
Let's continue on. Roger. How come I never noticed that Jarrett Stidham was a Browns quarterback? I don't think he needed to notice that, did he?
Isn't he with the Patriots?
You think Brian Hoyer will start for the Patriots?
No.
Okay.
Belichick's got something up his sleeve.
All right, Mr. Gullible, who you just heard, here you now hear him on Quickies. How come when the waiter spilled soup on my neckwear, I severed all ties with him?
Well done.
Mr. Gullible, your next one is excellent. I can't use it. Even in a lockdown period, I can't use it. You got to have some rules, right, D-Man?
Yes, Les.
John Patrick, how come there are a lot of drawbacks in archery? How come Peyton Manning's friend, no, let's see. How come Archie Manning's friends don't call him Rick? As opposed to the other way around. All right, you got a final comment here?
Yeah, I do want to say to Mr. Gullible, I mean, you can't count out a season opener in 2020 for MLB. I mean, it looks like right now it's up in the air, but you still potentially could have a truncated season.
What to you is a truncated season? What number makes sense? What's the limit of what it could be?
Yeah, I was going to ask Hoynesy that tomorrow night. I would think, I know it's just a round number, but 100. I would think anything less than 100.
Yeah. All right, we got to go. Great job, D-Man, as always. Enjoy it. We'll listen to you on WTAM tomorrow and on Friday. Thanks, D-Man. That'll do it for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We've got Mary Kay Cabot tomorrow night, right here live on the show. Haven't had her in a long time, and we will do that. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.